U.S. intelligence agency mind control.
Much better than
China is one of the main focuses of the Biden White House. And soon the president will meet with the leader of one of America's strongest allies, Japan, in a bid to deepen the military partnership in
But
East
they don't
Asia.
have a military.
I'll speak with
The self-defense force.
Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. But first, a look at the stakes of the coming summit. Next week, a new plan to strengthen military cooperation is expected to be unveiled by two powerful leaders. President Biden will host Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Washington on Wednesday, followed by a summit among the two nations and the Philippines. It's all part of Japan's shift in military strategy over the last decade, slowly abandoning its post-World War II inward-looking approach of pacifism to deal with the rising power nearby, China. The PRC's military activities in the region are seen as increasingly aggressive. Live-fire military exercises off the coast of Taiwan, sailing its ships dangerously close to others in the South China Sea, and ramming boats from the Philippines in disputed waters. China also claims sovereignty over the Senkaku Islands, which Japan considers its own territory. In turn, Prime Minister
Just
Kishida vowed
the
to increase
audacity
military
to
strength.
fucking ram ships like that.
Yeah, it's so wild.
To deter the PRC.
In the face of a severe security environment, the drastic strengthening of our defense capabilities is an urgent task that we have no time to wait for.
All of this is driving the U.S. and Japan to improve joint military operability. But on the economic front, a new flashpoint.
Yeah,
the Biden administration last month came out against the Japanese company Nippon Steel's $14.1 billion offer to buy Pittsburgh-based.
What do you think about this? And Biden's response to this?
Protecting American jobs.
Yeah, but keep it. No, it's not. I took it as like protecting U.S. steel and keeping it American, right?
Sure.
Hitting those nationalist notes more than anything else. Even
Sure.
though Japan, like Nippon Steel owning it, wouldn't be the worst acquisition. But I understand.
I
where
think
Biden
after
came from.
COVID, I think all countries took a
realized,
lesson
yeah.
on how, I don't blame Japan for also trying to make this offer because of the situation they're in. That's what caused them to be the way they were in World War II, is not having the resources that they needed on land.
Yes.
So they have to. That's what's benefited them from being so hyper capitalist, is that they need an import industry.
Yes. They can't shut themselves off. They don't have what's
Yeah.
required to maintain their population. Yeah.
Well,
US
I'm
Steel,
just saying
staying in
resources. You know,
Yes.
like they did Pearl Harbor because they knew they needed the oil from another country that they were about to invade, right?
Yeah.
And the U.S. said, "Don't invade that country, or we'll go to war." And they'll say, and then they were like, "Well, if we just bomb the entire U.S. Navy, then they can't stop us," right? So that was smart of Japan to do Pearl Harbor.
Yes. Tactically, yeah.
Yes. Even
The
though
statement, it
they
is-
missed the carriers, which
Yeah.
changed combat.
It sure did. Yeah, those carriers were everything.
There's some really, like, the Battle of Midway, like just going down like how the near misses on the carriers and stuff, and like
Yeah.
the actual like first like carrier on carrier combat that happens. It's really interesting.
vital for it
They
to
use
remain an
computer
American
animations.
steel company that is domestically owned and operated. Nippon Steel fired back, saying the deal would advance American priorities by driving greater quality and competitiveness while strengthening American supply chains.
Oh, what a
That says
capitalist
the White House
bullshit
makes
line.
clear it does not want to damage its relationship with Japan.
The president has also been clear about making sure that steelworkers in this country know that he has their back, but that doesn't take away one bit from the terrific relationship that we have now and will continue to have with Japan.
Overnight, I spoke with Prime Minister Kishida from his residence in Tokyo. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, welcome to the NewsHour.
Oh, you know what's funny? I actually watched this interview. I was like, why is this so familiar? I watched this.
Yeah, I told you
I
to.
think I said
I was like, bro, you got to watch the interview on PBS with the Japanese Prime Minister.
because I watched the whole hour, I think.
Yeah, and there's another part from this segment because we showed it last time. It was it was PBS doing immigration. They're in Mexico. They did a part 2 follow-up on this NewsHour that I also put in there somewhere. I mean, we were
One
kind
of
of
the key
on
items on
Mexico
your agenda
already.
next week is focused on
Yeah. I can go back.
Well, this is still kind of North American relations, right? Because America's involved. So,
Well, I was gonna go into the South China Sea stuff, but I'll go back to the Mexico one before we go here because
yeah, we can do both.
Yeah.
On Nippon Steel, President Biden is opposed to the planned sale of U.S. steel to Nippon Steel of Japan, and he suggests that it's a national security issue. In his words, he says the U.S. needs to maintain strong American steel companies powered by American steel workers. Do you feel President Biden is making a mistake?
私は、この、US スティールの件について
Can't
は
even speak
Well, with
English.
regard to
man.
the specific case of U.S. Steel, since the individual discussions are going on amongst the direct parties concerned, I would choose not to directly comment on it. However, with regard to the Japan-U.S. alliance, it is stronger than ever, and Japan has grown to be now the world's largest foreign investor in the United States and creates lots of jobs in the United States. And it is expected that this investment is going to be expanded even further. So in order to make this trend for win-win more firm and definite, I think what we need to do is to ascertain sustainable and inclusive economic growth in the Asia-Pacific and work together so that rule-based economic order can be sustained and maintained.
Rule-based
And based on that,
economic
with the
order.
submission on the economic front as
Fucking
well, I
liberal,
will continue to
fucking
work strongly towards it.
これ
made
からも
up
確
words,
実なもの
bro.
にし
Made
Fucking
up
lib.
words. The lib equivalent of bourgeoisie right there.
していかなければならないと考えています。
While you're in Washington next week, you and
What he
President
means
Biden
by
will agree
that
to
is
tighten
that
military
We
cooperation.
all agreed to be capitalist, right?
Mhm.
This is an interest of capital, is what he meant.
Japan wants to establish the Joint Command headquarters before the end of March 2025 because of the
Let's
concern
go.
about China. What will this strengthened U.S.-Japan military relationship be able to do in the future that it can't do right now?
今、ロシアによるウクライナ侵略、あるいは
I've seen in the Russian aggression against Ukraine, as well as the situation in Israel,
My
and Palestine,
resolution?
in terms of the international
Airstrikes.
community, it is really facing a
Bomb
historical
them.
turning point.
Bomb
In that
them,
context, I'm
keep
of the view
bomb them again and again.
Oh, you can't
is
do
that
that.
the importance of the
That's what it would
Japan-U.S. alliance
take.
is growing even
Okay.
more. And after World War II, I would say that in terms of the inter-Pacific situation for Japan,
What
it is
happened
the
there?
most severe and complicated situation.
Dunno.
That is why at the end of 2022, Japan had put together the national security strategy, in which it was decided that the defense expenditure will be raised to 2% of GDP. I hope that in my visit to the United States this time, Japan and the United States will be able to deepen into discussion on how our security cooperation can be further expanded.
Will this new headquarters be involved in actual military operations, or would it just be responsible for planning military exercises between the U.S. and Japan?
我が国は国家安全保障戦略に基づいて、
Well, based on the national security strategy that Japan has formulated, we are now planning to form the joint headquarters. However, the control per se will remain individually to each of the states concerned, namely Japan and the
Confederalist.
United States. And under that new system, I'll make sure that Japan and the United States will make that coordination accordingly.
両国間において、調整を
Because
行ってい
that's why
くとい
de
ったも
Gaulle
のであると考
left
えています
NATO, you know? He was
Yeah.
like, whoa, 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 whoa. Article 5? No, 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 no.
Mhm.
Would this new
Oh, he
command be
didn't
involved
leave
in
NATO, but you know.
Yeah, made it
He just said
independent. So
France, France, no, but now they're back in, so.
Yeah.
coming to the defense of Taiwan if China were to attack Taiwan? President Biden has said on a number of occasions that the U.S. would come to the defense
My
of Taiwan
resolution?
if China were to attack it. Will
Air-
Japan do the same?
台湾
My
有事
resolution?
という
Ah,
縦の
stop.
進撃
I was just like, we get it. I wanted to
Well, I would
stop it.
refrain
And
from
then,
answering your
and then I
question, your
tried to
hypothetical
stop that
question
one
about
and
Taiwan.
stop the other one. I just wanted, we get the soundbite. We don't need to listen to it again. The joke is that he said he was going to bomb him. Okay. Instead, I took
Fine.
longer.
However, the peace and stability over the Taiwan Straits is very important, and not only for Japan's security, but also for the stability of the entire international community. Therefore, we have always taken consistently the position that issues over Taiwan are to be resolved through dialogue in a peaceful fashion. Of course, we will convey what we are thinking formally to China, and also continue working closely with allies like the United States and other like-minded countries, so that our position can be clearly communicated.
しながらその立場を明確に発信していきたいと考えています。
What's your level of concern, though, about Chinese military activities in the South China Sea and elsewhere in Asian waters? What do you believe is President Xi's ultimate goal?
中国は
Well, with regard to China,
World
without their affording
domination.
adequate transparency, they are expanding military strength in this part of the region, inclusive of the nuclear and missile capabilities in a broad way, and in such a speedy fashion. They are increasing their cooperation with Russia as well. So in the Sea of Japan, in the Pacific Ocean, and so forth, their military activities are expanding and also becoming much more intensified. So we are going to ask them to raise their transparency and act along with the International Code of Conduct.
行動するということ、こういった働きかけを行ってい
I'm
ます。
sure they'll do
During the
that.
visit, as I understand it, you'll
Mhm.
also be
Yeah,
announcing
definitely.
cooperation in space. Is Japan pushing to have the first
Yes.
non-American on the moon, and has
I forgot about this being in there. This is the best part.
the U.S. agreed to that plan?
今回の訪問において、
With regard to space, it has been confirmed that Japan will extend its cooperation in this area. So this is the dream that a Japanese astronaut might be stepping his feet on the face of the moon. I hope that when I visit the United States, it will become one of the outcomes of the discussion.
協力をしていく、こういったことを確認をしています。
You mentioned Ukraine earlier. Let's return to that. Does U.S. military support for Ukraine make it harder for the U.S. to meet its commitments in Asia?
ロシアによるウクライナ侵略、これは国際秩序を揺るがす暴挙です。
Well, Russia's aggression against Ukraine is a reckless deed, which shakes the foundation of the international order, with a strong sense of crisis that today's Ukraine might become tomorrow's East Asia. I have been dealing with this issue, continuing the severe sanctions against Russia and the continuing strong support to Ukraine. And on the 19th of February, Tokyo hosted the Japan-Ukraine Conference on Economic Growth and Reconstruction. And based on that, of course, Japan will continue its cooperation to Ukraine. And of course, the international community has to cooperate in sending strong messages constantly to Russia. Because some of the Asian countries might take
what you mean is I'm pro-Ukraine. I held a conference where we were going to talk about how to make money and get Ukraine back in capitalism after the war. I'm on to you, capitalist country.
Wrong.
対応を続けてきたところであります。
Do you believe that support for Ukraine, as many in the U.S. argue, is important as a possible deterrent to China in the region?
法の支配に基づいて、
We really need to maintain international order, which is based on the rule of law and which is free and open. And we should never allow any country to make it a habit.
These
To be
fucking
aggressive
lip
against
cocks,
others. And
bro.
if that is allowed, then that would send the wrong message to
It's
countries
so
all over the
bad.
world, including Asia.
The North Koreans launched another ballistic missile this week. How much of this new military partnership is about containing the North and its aggression?
It's like, you
And what's
know
your
what
level of
he's
concern
saying.
about the
You
apparent
know
military-
the language enough. Just like it's like, but to me, it's just as alien as how commies be talking.
Yeah. And
Like I
it's
know,
just as
I know
cringe.
what you're saying. I'm just laughing
Mm.
at you for saying it the way that you are.
Yeah.
This guy an NPC? No, he's a prime minister. Duh.
cooperation
The
among
only
China, Russia,
real
and the
prime minister
DPRK.
is
北
Abe.
朝鮮による核・ミサイル開発、
Of course, the nuclear and missile development by DPRK threatens not only Japan, but also the peace and stability of the entire international community. I sense that very lately, the level of DPRK missile development capability is
Anyway,
improving.
well, you were walking
very
away, but I
significantly.
wanted to discuss
is what I-
Japanese moon men.
Mhm.
I think I know that they're planning on basically booting Russia off the replacement ISS that they were doing, and it was going to be Japan being like the one that they were going in with in space, right?
Mhm.
So I think that the United States should 100% let a Japanese astronaut on the moon. We don't own the moon. If we do an international cooperation like that, it will mean so much more to international science and cooperation and stuff like that. And it will be such a big dick power move to North Korea and China in the region. The fact that Japan is like, we've been to the moon. You still like, oh, you want to be like, oh, we took ice samples with a drone from the
Mhm.
dark side. It was,
It's,
actual technical achievement because
it's
nobody
another
has done it.
Japanese soft
It
power
involved
government.
extra math to land on the dark side to take the ice samples. Fuck off, bro. Feet on the ground. All right.
It's just another soft power win for Japan.
But it's also like a very much a hard power win.
Oh, for sure, yeah, but it's very much for Japan specifically. It's soft power.
Space race is also the missile race.
But it also coincides with Japan remilitarizing too. So it's almost like they're
Exactly.
slapping their dick on the table.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. Power move. It
Yeah.
just should happen. It's
Yeah.
dumb not
it
to.
makes sense, yeah. It really does. Or half the crew Japanese. Not even just one. Half
No,
the
no,
crew.
no, just one. Because they need the black person, the non-binary person. They got to meet all their racial quotas to make.
They gotta
sure
have
it's
the rainbow,
woke
yeah.
moon.
Gotta
No, I
plant the
think there really
progress
is. I
flag.
think there is a woman going on the next one too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. Or she, it's something like that. I've heard that somebody was trying to do it, and they might have.
Did you ever
I
watch
think
the
I think DEI put a woman on the moon is what I'm getting to. I really think that's
did
what
you ever-
happened for real here. It was a DEI thing. Like they purposely picked a woman, not because she was the most qualified, but because she was a woman. I really think this happened.
Did you watch the Space Force show?
Is this like a comedy show about
It's
Trump?
a comedy show, yeah. No. It's got nothing to do with Trump. It's about the actual Space Force. It's got Steve Carell as the main character, right? and they go back to the moon because they're like, we need to justify the Space Force, so they go to the moon, and the person they put is a black woman, right? And they're like prepping her to have a catchphrase when she gets to the moon. What do you think it was?
Go ahead.
It was, "I'm black on the moon." And then she's
That's
like
some good
fighting it.
wordplay. That's some good wordplay for a really stupid joke.
And if I remember correctly, she didn't want to say it. She was trying to fight it the whole time, and when she got there, she's like, "Fuck it," which is very funny. It's a very entertaining show, I thought. Anyway, that sort of, as soon as you said that, it just popped into my head. I'm like, they should make that happen in real life.
Sense, and I have a deep sense of crisis over that. Therefore, the cooperation amongst allies and with like-minded countries, specifically between Japan, the United States, and the Republic of Korea, we really need to enhance our cooperation.
Right.
And as you had mentioned, it is reported the DPRK is having a concrete cooperation with Russia. So this is, of course, the concern shared by East Asian countries.
They're
Therefore,
making
the international
concrete.
community has to cooperate even more.
And lastly, sir, Japan was one American ally that managed to get along with former President Donald Trump. How were you able to do that? And if Donald Trump is reelected, what advice do you have to U.S. allies about how to interact with him?
我が国は
During the days of Prime Minister Abe with President Trump, efforts were made to make even more fulfilling the contents of the U.S.-Japan relationship, and it continues to this day. So I would say that regardless of the outcome of the upcoming presidential election in the United States, because of this more complicated international situation, the Japan-U.S. alliance grows in importance even more. And I believe this is a notion shared as a common recognition within the U.S., going beyond party lines in a bipartisan way. So that is why I've decided to visit the United States, this time to confer once again this relationship, the importance of our alliances, and to continue efforts so that we can further develop our relationship. I hope that the Japan-U.S. alliance will be understood as very important, not only in the security area, but also in economics as well. So I hope that the U.S. will be able to reaffirm once again how important Japan is as their partner. And we hope to confirm that during my visit to the United States.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio.
It's even funnier.
What?
It wasn't "I'm." It says it's good to be black on the moon.
Oh, okay.
Kushida, thank you for your time this evening. We appreciate it.
こちらこそ
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I thank you once again for your cooperation.
What a great country. You know, they make me feel good, and they're so polite to me. You know, what genocide happened? I never heard about no genocide from Japan.
Last night, we reported from Mexico on the increasingly global migration making its way through that country to the U.S. southern border. And tonight, On the Navaz continues that journey, starting in Green Valley, Arizona.
How often do you do this drive?
I do this at least once a week.
Okay. It's about an hour-and-a-half drive from Pastor Randy Mayer's church to the rugged border between Arizona and Mexico in the Sonoran Desert.
It's a time-honored tradition of giving help to the stranger.
Mayer is the founder of Green Valley Samaritans, and for nearly a quarter-century, he's been providing aid to migrants.
A year ago, we were running into groups out in the desert, but it was 8, 10, 15 people a day. Now we're out there some days and we're running into 300, 400.
300 or 400 people a day.
Yeah.
But it's not just more people, it's where they're coming from.
Hey, you guys need anything?
Bangladesh. Aap Hindi bolte hain? Within minutes of reaching the border wall, Pastor Randy is out of the truck
Border Patrol will come.
and handing out granola bars and water to a group of men from Bangladesh.
What the fuck?
Bro, she's speaking. Is she
Hindi,
from
yeah.
Bangladesh?
I don't know. She must just speak Hindi.
Go back. Listen, she must be from the
Went
region.
straight into it. Yeah.
Yeah, listen to how
They're
she
coming from.
responds.
Hey, you guys need anything?
Bangladesh. Aap Hindi bolte hain? Within minutes of reaching the border
went
wall,
straight into it,
Pastor
yeah.
Randy is out of the truck
Border Patrol will come.
and handing out granola bars and water to a group of men from Bangladesh. They tell me they've been traveling for 3 months and just arrived at this makeshift border camp. Before long, more.
Why did... I'm so confused. It's so far away from Mexico. What the fuck is happening?
It's the new
Rivals.
Ellis Island, bro.
They're from Guatemala, finding the Samaritans after walking for 5 hours. The group, including a
Didn't the
5-year-old,
same
had been traveling
reporter
for a
speak
month.
Spanish in the last segment?
I think so. What a
I wonder what
random
this reporter
selection of.
is.
Yeah.
A 5-minute drive further down the border road, another large group that recently crossed, including this father and his children from Senegal.
6 months ago, we had never seen somebody from Bangladesh or Africa in this part of the desert. It was all Mexicans and Central Americans, and sometimes it would be a few people from South America, but now this is pretty regular. Bienvenidos. Tenemos mucha comida y agua.
And notice one of the first things you say is welcome.
Yeah, we want to make sure that at least their first encounter is one of great welcome and saying, we are glad you are here.
Among the group are 3 sisters, 13-year-old Nicole, 14-year-old Genesis, and 8-year-old Valeria. They're traveling alone from Chiapas, the southernmost state in Mexico.
Oh,
You see any other
Valeria's
kids
a fucking dope name, bro.
It's a good name.
No, most just had their families, or their parents, or their aunts and uncles, or even close cousins. Everybody had somebody.
And you had each other?
Yes, just us 3.
The sisters are heading to reunite with their mother, their sole provider, who came to the U.S. 7.5 years ago to support the family. Over the phone, she shares her relief
gotta
that her
say,
daughters
though,
made it safely across the border.
Cheese, man. You can't have granola bars.
Mm-hmm.
That cheese doesn't do shit. That shit ain't filling. That's junk food.
Mm-hmm. He was giving out granola bars. What are you talking
You
about?
know, he's giving everyone cheese sticks, bro.
I was desperate, and I was so scared because I didn't know what was going on.
The girls, like everyone here, are now just waiting to turn themselves into Border Patrol. Virtually all will seek asylum in the U.S., a legal protection that takes years to formally determine. But for now, with a snack, water, and reassurance from Pastor Randy that transport would eventually come, spirits seem high. But in this remote stretch of the Sonoran Desert, the journey can quickly turn dire.
It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I just met this group of folks who just crossed over earlier this morning. They said in the middle of the night, 2 are from Mali, 1 is from Mauritania, 1 is from Guinea. 2 of them are very, very sick. They said that they've been waiting for Border Patrol to arrive for hours, and it looks like they have no arrived. So they'll start to get some medical help and see what happens next.
An hour passes. The group is taken by ambulance to a hospital more than 90 minutes away. It's these moments that show why this border is the deadliest land migration route in the world. In Arizona's Pima County, more than 3,000 migrants have died in the last 30 years.
Deadlier than the Gap?
Surely that label makes the American government go, maybe we should change something. You would think that label, having your border.
Wait. Deadliest crossing. By what metric? How is it deadlier than the Gap?
Well, maybe it's including the Gap and they're counting
maybe
the travel.
Maybe it's just numbers raw.
Maybe.
Like the amount of people is higher than the percentage.
And possibly, maybe it is just raw. I mean, it looks like raw numbers here, 3,000.
Since okay, let me check how many people have died in the Gap.
This shouldn't be so deadly. Quiere una manzana? By our people being out here, we literally are saving lives day in and day out.
Along the same span of rugged terrain, Stephen Cristinzio with U.S. Customs and Border Protection echoes that sentiment.
When the organizations are pushing family groups across in the middle of nowhere, that's been a big challenge.
When you say the organizations, you mean the cartels?
The cartels. The cartels control everything here.
Cristinzio helps lead Border Patrol's Tucson sector, which covers 262 border miles in Arizona.
Tucson sector is the most inhospitable terrain on the southwest border.
I mean, how does that impact your resources? You've got larger groups, more people coming across, and more remote crossings. What does that mean for your team?
It makes it incredibly difficult for us to respond.
Everything I see is like by year, not like since 1993. See, this one is more than 50 people have died since the start of 2021. You know, and it'll be like this year, 2023, 84. You know.
Just have to add them up.
Yeah, year by year.
See if it adds up to over 3,000.
In a quick manner. For us, the number one thing with the Give Up groups is safety and preservation of life. We triage things in that manner.
Driving that border with Agent Cristinzio, we quickly get a sense of what his team is managing.
Yes.
This group of 17 migrants, all Mexicans, crossed the border just moments earlier through a broken section of the border fence.
¿Cómo está, señor?
The pace of what Border Patrol calls give-ups, or people turning themselves in, is relentless. Apprehensions in this part of Arizona were up 30% in March compared to a year ago, and just down from record levels a few months ago.
Probably can't get them all in, right?
The group is loaded onto a van to be
The
taken
thing
to
is,
a nearby facility
so like
in
if
Nogales,
it's
Arizona.
higher than the Gap, right? Why?
Yeah, that's the question.
There is no reason. Like It's specifically because they're trying to kill people in
Yeah,
the
because
middle
they're
of the desert,
making it
you
as
know?
hard as possible. Yeah, and leaving the longest stretches unguarded.
They'll get a medical screening, basic biographical information will get
Well,
taken. That'll
unguarded,
happen first. Yeah, they're coming across right
unpatrolled.
there.
Before Crescenzio
Mostly.
can finish his thought, he sees another group approaching.
Do you have space, staff, resources to support all of them?
Yeah, we might. I don't know when we can get the next van. It might be a little bit before he comes back, and then. Buenos días,
We'll
¿cómo
let you do your
están?
job.
Ven por acá, por favor.
Over the course of an hour, we document at least 70 people, minors,
That's
families,
crazy.
children as young as 6 months, crossing the border to turn themselves in at this one remote spot.
¿Cuántos años tienes? 12.
But it's not just asylum seekers. Agent Crescenzio says a masked man on the border fence is likely a scout for a cartel.
He'll watch us if it's people or drugs, whatever that guy is looking to push across. He's just trying to tie up our resources, get us out of the area.
In fact, moments earlier, agents on ATVs marched 2 men out of the brush who'd been evading Border Patrol. It's a sight that fifth-generation rancher Jim Chilton says he's increasingly seeing at his ranch,
This
which
guy's
spans
so
50,000
racist.
acres.
This guy is
5.5
like so
miles along the Mexico.
classically Texas racist. It's like a caricature of it. It's like, and the fact that he's like 100 years old too. I'm a fifth-generation rancher, and I hate the migrants.
Border.
Through the Obama and Trump administration, averaged about 230 people coming to the ranch. In the last 3 years, it's been about 1,200 people.
Chilton tracks this illicit traffic using motion-activated cameras on his property.
What do you think should be done to stop those guys from cutting through your ranch?
President Biden made a huge mistake stopping the wall. The wall is a
He
very
built more than
helpful
Trump.
tool. It would
You
require the
dumb
Border Patrol.
fuck.
That's
You
literally
dumb
what I was
racist
yelling.
Fuck.
I was literally yelling pretty much that at my computer when I watched this. I'm like, Biden built more. Fucking dickhead.
Being at the wall, and anybody tried to cut it or crawl over it or under it, they apprehended them and kick them back into Mexico.
He says he supports more legal immigration pathways, but the current flow of people claiming asylum between ports of entry is untenable.
I feel for the undocumented immigrants. They're just trying to get into the country, but we can't accept everybody that has an issue.
A lot of folks on the outside looking in say there's a siege going on, there's an invasion going on at the border. Is that how you see it?
When you have 8 to 10 million people coming into the United States, one could almost say it's an invasion.
Shut up.
But opinions on this frontier differ. Chilton's neighbor just down the road doesn't see it exactly the same way. Cattle rancher Lori Lindsay's property also runs along the Mexico border.
It's super peaceful. It's beautiful. I've lived in 9 states. This is my favorite place.
And this comes with the view of the border wall.
It does.
Right here.
Oh, I hadn't noticed.
Classic Texas hippie
Lindsay
farmer.
says
2 first names talking about how beautiful it is that non-white people are around. Okay. The woke Southern farmer. Two names. We're just getting all the stereotypes.
she's never felt threatened here, and she doesn't put much stock in the immigration debate among people thousands of miles away.
If you're not familiar with the border, it sounds very scary. It sounds like we're being invaded. Criminals are coming in to get us, and it's just not true. I mean, not that there isn't a problem. There is a problem with the cartels. We need to deal with those. But there are two separate issues going on. You've got that, and then you've got a mother who's come 7 countries away with her young children. I think, how desperate are you?
They're replacing us, you mean? To vote Democrat.
At the border, Division Chief Stephen Crescenzio and Border Patrol agents are on the front lines of disentangling these two issues and managing a humanitarian mission that many Border Patrol agents didn't necessarily sign up for.
Do you worry after seeing hundreds of people a day, thousands of people
Well,
every
you
week?
signed up for the
There's
job, so yeah, you kind of did.
compassion fatigue, burnout?
It's called Border
I
Patrol.
don't think so. It's hard to look at a group like this and see all these little kids. These kids didn't ask to be here. And you can put yourself in that situation. Imagine
Isn't it
having
funny
to
that the
make
Border
those-
Patrol agents are almost always pretty empathetic to them?
Yeah. I mean,
It's kind of interesting, isn't it?
It's crazy, you know, and yet the IDF can't get a grain of humanity in them seeing fucking
Mm.
suffering every day.
Insane. It
Not
shows
all
you
the
how
Border
fucked
Patrol,
they are.
though. You know,
No,
there still
obviously
is
that's why I said
plenty.
most of them.
Yeah. I've
Because they're
seen some
obviously the
crazy
psychos.
ones.
Mm-hmm.
sacrifices, make those decisions to travel hundreds or thousands of miles with, you know, that little girl right there. She's probably 9 months old.
Maybe a year. Yeah.
Maybe a year. And so, no, I don't worry about compassion fatigue. I don't.
Pastor Randy and the Green Valley Samaritan volunteers say
That
they're
was
frustrated
also
by elected
the
officials'
way
failure
the
to
journalists framed the question, specifically saying, "Do you have compassion fatigue?" And that's like a
Yes.
state, like police, like it's
Mm.
it's an institution of the state's power.
Yes.
Like that is a cop at the end of the day, and
Mhm.
you're asking him about compassion, and he's like, "I can't. I'm too compassionate about these people." Where are those cops in our cities?
Yeah. That's the
Come on.
question.
How are we getting border patrol agents that see people who aren't white and get that humane about it? But yet, in the city, we look at how dehumanizing it is to not be white.
Mm. Yeah.
What is the deal? Why are the racists being in LAPD? Quotas, because they keep needing to
For
hire
over
people from out of town. That's why.
Yes. Nazi
Nobody
tactics.
actually wants to work for the LAPD in
Mhm.
LA.
No, Nazi tactics to do.
30 years, our politicians, both the Republican and the Democrats, have not chosen to do
True.
anything but throw money at security. And it hasn't changed a single thing. In fact, it's probably brought more people here.
Tell them.
As the sun starts to
Or as
set,
they
dozens
say,
of migrants
preach.
wait for Border Patrol to arrive, including sisters Genesis, Nicole, and Valeria, eagerly anticipating seeing their mother for the first time in more than 7 years.
I'm very excited to see her. It's been so long since I've seen her.
But after we leave, that excitement turns to worry. In a moment of confusion, as night fell over the desert, the girls are left behind by a Border Patrol van. Their mother alerted NewsHour. We alerted Border Patrol, who carried out an overnight rescue of the girls.
No shit.
Last week, the sisters reunited with their mother. 3
No,
more survivors of a dangerous
like-
journey who've reached their next.
Based.
Well, yes, but it's like that's supposedly taboo. The journalist got involved with the outcome of a story.
Of course. Yes. Yes. But it's the same. It's the same sort of conundrum as like famous photographers, right? They have this conundrum about photojournalism, right?
Well, like
the African child that was starving to death in the Vulture, that picture, people are like, why didn't you fucking do anything, right? The guy that was running on fire through the house in where the fuck was it? He's got a gas mask on. You know the photo? He's like running through a building and he's on fire. I'm sure you would recognize the photo if I showed
saw
you.
it, maybe. But
but like
in college
of
though,
Mm.
One of the things they highlight is that it's like it might be Syria or something, but Anderson Cooper picks up a child and runs with him to like clear the child from like getting hurt
Yes.
by a bomb or something.
Yes. Yes.
Which is like that, like people actually called him out for that, saying that he was getting involved with it. It was breaking the code of ethics and blurring the line of journalism by doing that. People actually said that to him.
Yeah, and you know,
He was like, "Bro, humanity took over. I saw a
Exactly.
kid there. I picked it up. I'm a fucking human being. Shut the fuck up."
Exactly, and that's where I sort of like, I understand the point, but like if something like that's happening, I'm not just gonna sit there and watch that kid get fucking bombed. Are you kidding?
Well, he didn't think.
No, he just acted.
Yeah.
And that's probably exactly what they did. They're like, well, these girls got left behind, probably because they were being interviewed by PBS, right?
Well, maybe that is the case. Maybe they're saving their own ass because they're complacent and the girls being left behind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That could
Who
be
knows?
it.
Either way,
So-
it's such a crazy end to a story that these girls you just saw end up getting left behind.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine how scary that is.
It would be. It would have been terrifying for him.
Oh, hang on.
To the
These
south of
people
China
claim-
Sea now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put these people in
DW?
there. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I picked this because it's the only news story about it.
Yeah. DW is awful with
Okay.
claiming.
Let me see.
If it's broadcasted out of America, we can basically use it unless they like really want to come after us to do a manual strike, which we could take up with the Supreme Court.
Okay, I got NDTV.
Oh, that's the Falun Gong media.
Okay, great.
Australia, Japan, Philippines, the US are set to
Excellent
hold a
quality.
joint maritime exercise in the South China Sea amid
Oh,
aggressive
this is
tactics from
not
China. An
okay.
inquiry
This is an Indian outlet just called the same name as the Falun Gong thing.
Interesting.
joint
Formatted
statement, they've
incorrectly.
said that the right to freedom of navigation will be upheld and that regional and international cooperation
Did I
will
put
be
this in here?
strengthened through these exercises.
No, I just looked this up because you didn't put any about the South China Sea in here.
Oh, is it in Globby?
I looked in all of them.
Oh.
And they've also said the exercise is for free and open Indo-Pacific as well as a peaceful and
I put
stable
this in there.
Indo-Pacific
The
region.
US and
They've also
Australia
said
and
safeguarding
Philippines doing the
international
Quad
order
stuff.
is.
It might be
The-
under
I-
US.
I looked in all of them.
I definitely put it.
I typed in South China Sea. I typed in military. None of
Give
it
me
came
one
up.
second. Mister, I pulled
Top
up
priority.
some
I have my
random
colleague
Indian
Disha joining
channel.
us with more details. Disha, take us through the significance of these maritime exercises.
So this maritime exercise comes at a time when tensions between
formatting's so
Philippines and
funny.
China have continued to increase in the South China Sea over the past year, with clashes almost every couple of weeks between Filipino vessels and the Chinese Coast Guard.
I'm so confused why they have this little empty space down the bottom. It's like they added it in.
So now Quad allies US, Australia, and Japan, in a strong show of support to back Manila, have announced this joint drill in the South China Sea. This joint drill between the Naval and Air Force.
Did you find them?
No, I'm just checking the first playlist now.
Okay. I have something else from ANC 24/7. I don't know what the fuck that is.
I don't know. I put something in there.
Fuck it. Let's do this one. Another random one.
A planned commitment by the Philippines, the U.S., and Japan to hold regular maritime exercises in the South China Sea.
Regular
This
ones.
enhanced defense cooperation of Manila with its allies expected to be firmed up in a trilateral summit in Washington. Pia Gutierrez has tonight's top story.
The Philippines, Japan, and the U.S. are expected to forge an agreement to hold regular maritime exercises when the leaders of the three nations meet in Washington next week. This is according to Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Romualdez, who says the exercises are aimed at deterring any kind of aggression in the South China Sea and preserving the freedom of navigation in the disputed territory. President Marcos, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, and U.S. President Joe Biden will meet in Washington on April 11 for a historic trilateral summit amid growing concerns on China's heightened aggression in the South China Sea.
I think we can expect a discussion on the recent incidents. Of course, the joint vision statement is still under discussion, but we can expect an alignment of views among the three countries on the recent incidents in the West Philippine Sea.
But the Philippine Foreign Affairs Department clarifies that the meeting is not directed against any country.
The main goal really is to deepen, first and foremost, the natural strengths that we've had, that we've shared over the years. Japan and the United States have been our long traditional allies and partners, not only in defense and security, but also in economic cooperation. Of course, in the present environment, this or that.
DW? Yeah, they are. I'm pretty sure they're public.
Yeah, they claim shit
Well,
because
Summit is-
they do like they do these like high produced documentaries and stuff. So they basically if their logo is in the bottom corner, you can get claimed by them. They're very annoying.
Noted.
Is significant.
That's
to
why they're never in there.
Help further promote dialogue and peace in the region. These are countries that share the Philippines' goal of promoting an international rules-based order and to promote peace and stability in the region.
Aside from the South China Sea, the three nations are also expected to discuss boosting cooperation on various areas, including clean energy and emerging technologies during next week's meeting. Ahead of the summit, Philippine President Marcos Jr. on Thursday received Japan's new ambassador to the Philippines, Endo Kazuya, in a ceremony in Malacanang. During the meeting, President Marcos told the Japanese envoy that even as the Philippines will continue to work for peace, Manila needs to respond to the actual situation in the West Philippine Sea. The Philippines has repeatedly condemned China's illegal, coercive, and dangerous actions against Philippine vessels in the West Philippine Sea. The latest of which was a water cannon attack that resulted in the injuries of at least 3 Philippine Navy personnel.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?